Hey everybody, my name's Luca. I'm a full stack web developer and designer. I've been going to hackathons for probably 5 years now. I helped Eleanor with her first ever hackathon. And today I'm going to teach you guys how I would go about winning a hackathon and like some tips and tricks for you guys. So first thing I'm going to say is the most important thing that you can do during a hackathon is make sure that you communicate well with your teammates. Whether you work well with your team is what makes or breaks a team, in my opinion. So just make sure that you have Slack or WhatsApp or some group where you guys are constantly communicating. Um, it's basically what makes or breaks the team. It's when you get to the pitches and when people are presenting their work, you can see the dynamic between each team is different depending on how well they've worked with each other. So make sure that you're working well as a team. Second thing I'm going to say is you do not have to code. There are many ways to create prototypes without coding. I think I've got the example which is Marvel. Marvel's a great tool for prototyping what a solution might look like. Um, and it's just if you get to a point where you've struggled with your like conceptual stage or you don't have as many experienced developer mentors or whatever, you don't have to code a solution, and Marvel or a similar tool is a very great way of building a prototype that you can interact with without having to actually write a line of code. Third thing I'm gonna say is about choosing a language. Um, if you are gonna code, make sure that you use a language that the majority of your team know, or the people who can code in your team know. Um, my recommendation personally is always JavaScript because it's got both a front end and back end portion. You can use it for just about anything, and it's pretty simple for people to understand. It's also a very widely used language, so there's a good chance that your teammates know it. So just be careful when choosing your language if you guys are going to code your solutions. I also personally think that building websites or web apps are probably the best way of going about a hackathon like this. Building a native app or something more technical can take far more time. And the good thing about websites and web apps, there are so many tools to help you rapidly like prototype. So you can really come up with a solution quite quickly. So I highly recommend building a website or a web app if you guys can. This is a big thing when you're working on something in the like whether it's your presentation or some code or like, specifically if you get stuck on a piece of code or something, make sure you ask Google first, type in whatever you can about the issue that you're having, try and figure it out on your own. That's how you're going to figure it out in the real world. And if you can't get the answer on Google or you're really struggling, then ask a teammate. If your teammate can't help and doesn't know anything about the solution, then's the time to ask a mentor. There's only so many mentors to go around, so they're going to be quite busy. So if you can try and figure out as much as you can on your own, and then go to a teammate and then to a mentor, things will go a lot smoother. So that's a big tip for me. Um, Next thing I'm going to say is the winning teams are dynamic and not static. So if you do end up building an app or a web app, try not to build something that is just with static content, like an information page about a particular issue. Actually, try and build something with a backend or like a database or something where it's pulling dynamic data. So it's actually performing a task that you can't necessarily perform if it was just like a static site. So in order for that to occur, you have to use something called an API. I'm actually going to be doing a workshop later on APIs, on how to use them. But effectively, in order to get information onto a web page or an app, which isn't like hard coded into the app, you have to be pulling that data from somewhere else. And APIs are the way that computers talk to one another, whether they're completely different languages or whatever. It's the way that we transfer data from one like code base to another. And so they're absolutely crucial for things like hackathons because there are so many APIs out there for hundreds of different things. So say you want to add a map to your website, then we have the Google Maps API, and you can pull all of Google's map data using their API. So they're a really really powerful tool. And there are also libraries which are really, really powerful. But yeah, so I'm going to be going through APIs in a little bit more detail later, and showing you guys some examples and how you guys can use them. I'm going to skip through that, go through this during the workshop. Libraries are very, very similar to APIs, but they're actually stuff that you import directly into your code base. They're very, very powerful as well. So say you want to make a game for your project. If you wanted to start from scratch, you might be here, I don't know, for up to a year. Like, people spend so much time working on games, but you have libraries that will help you do all of the groundwork and fundamental stuff for you, and then you can actually just focusing on building the logic that's actually going to make your app what your app is, and actually help you build your solution. There's so many different examples of libraries. I'm going to go a little bit into detail with libraries as well during the API workshop. So go ahead and ask me a question as well if you have any about APIs or libraries. That's majority of what I have to say in terms of how to win a hackathon. I wish you guys the best of luck. If you guys have any questions about anything that I said, feel free to send me a message. On Twitter, it's at Luca Marchal. Marchal is Marchal. I'll be around. So yeah, good luck, guys.